The 10 most important philosophers who believed in God. In the history of thought, 10 philosophers stand out not only for their profound impact on philosophy, but also for their firm belief in God. Get ready to delve into the history of these 10 philosophers, whose lives and works bear witness to the powerful dialogue between faith and reason. Number 10. Baruk Spinosa. A 17th-century philosopher born between 1632 and 1677 in Amsterdam, he is considered one of the rationalists of the Golden Age of philosophy. His most famous work, Ethics, published posthumously in 1677, revolutionized Western thought by proposing a system in which God is not a transcendental or personal entity, but is identical to the universe. This concept, known as pantheism, suggests that everything that exists is part of God, or rather, that God is nature itself. This view sharply contrasted with traditional theistic interpretations of God as a distinct creator separate from the physical world. Spinoza argued that by understanding nature, we are understanding God, and this knowledge leads to a deeper form of love and admiration for the universe. The significance of Spinoza lies not only in his redefinition of God but also in how this view impacted ethics and human freedom. By identifying God with nature, Spinoza rejected any form of superstition or fear of a punishing deity, promoting instead a life guided by reason and understanding. According to Spinoza, this is true freedom: to live guided by reason, understanding our place within the natural order. His rationalist approach to religion and his critique of literal interpretations of the Bible were radically innovative for his time, leading him to face ostracism and accusations of heresy. However, his legacy endures, influencing not only philosophy but also the development of modern thought on religion, ethics, and the nature of existence. Number 9. C.S. Lewis. Clive Staples Lewis, primarily known as the author of The Chronicles of Narnia series, was also a prominent Christian apologist whose work transcends the genre of children's literature to delve into deep theological and philosophical debates. Although born in Belfast in 1898, Lewis' spiritual journey was not always aligned with the Christian faith. In his youth, he declared himself an atheist, influenced by readings of materialists and rationalists. However, his conversion to Christianity in 1931, partly attributed to discussions with close friends like J.R.R. Tolkien, marked a turning point in his life and work. Lewis used his formidable literary talent to explore and defend the Christian faith through works such as Mere Christianity, The Problem of Pain, and The Screwtape Letters. Lewis' interest in theology was not merely academic. He strove to make complex theological concepts accessible to the general public. His ability to communicate deep aspects of the Christian faith clearly and engagingly garnered a wide following. Lewis advocated for a rational and emotional understanding of faith, arguing against the skepticism and moral relativism of his time. The relevance of his work lies in his ability to intertwine his literary imagination with a solid theological foundation, creating narratives that invite reflection on human nature, good and evil, and the existence of God. Lewis' influence extends beyond the Christian sphere, reaching readers of various beliefs around the world, testifying to the enduring power of his literary and theological legacy. Number 8. Saurin Kirkgard. A 19th-century Danish philosopher, born between 1813 and 1855, widely considered the father of existentialism, a philosophical movement that emphasizes individual existence, freedom, and choice. However, what truly distinguishes Kierkegaard within the philosophical landscape is his deep integration of Christian theology with existential philosophy. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Kierkegaard did not seek to construct an abstract and depersonalized philosophical system. Instead, his work focuses on the subjective experience of the individual, particularly in relation to God. Kierkegaard argued that faith is not simply a matter of intellectual adherence to a set of beliefs, but a passionate and personal commitment that transforms the believer's entire existence. Kierkegaard's contribution to Christian thought is crucial for several reasons. First, his focus on subjectivity as the heart of religious experience challenges objective and dogmatic interpretations of faith, emphasizing instead the importance of a personal relationship with God. This perspective was revolutionary, anticipating many contemporary debates about the nature of faith and religion. Furthermore, his concept of the leap of faith is fundamental to understanding his philosophy. Kierkegaard suggested that in the face of the paradox and absurdity inherent in human existence, the only authentic response is a leap of faith, a commitment that transcends reason and logic. This idea deeply influenced not only Christian theology but also subsequent philosophy, literature, and psychological thought, making him one of the most important philosophers to integrate his belief in God with his philosophical work. Number 7. G. W. Leibniz. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, a transcendent figure in the history of philosophy and mathematics, born from 1646 to 1716, offered a unique perspective on the relationship between God, the universe, and the problem of evil, which remains of great interest to theologians and philosophers. Leibniz proposed an optimistic view of our world, arguing in his work, Monadology, and in several essays that we live in the best of all possible worlds. This assertion is based on his belief that an omniscient, omnipotent, and benevolent God could not create a universe inferior to any other possible one. Leibniz addressed the dilemma of evil in the world, suggesting that evil exists for a greater good, which may be difficult to perceive from a limited human perspective. His theodicy optimism attempts to justify the goodness of God despite the presence of evil in the world, arguing that any evil in this world contributes to the overall perfection and harmony of the universe. Leibniz's approach to the problem of evil and his optimistic view of the universe have profound implications, not only for theodicy but also for moral philosophy and ethics. By asserting that this world is the best possible, Leibniz invites us to see evil and suffering from a broader perspective, recognizing that our human limitations may hinder us from fully understanding divine plans. This view suggests that evil serves a purpose within a larger divine plan, promoting an attitude of trust and hope in the face of adversity. Although Leibniz's theodicy has been the subject of criticism and debate, his attempt to reconcile faith in a benevolent God with the reality of evil in the world offers a valuable perspective on the nature of faith, purpose, and human existence, inviting us to reflect on the complexity of the universe and our place within it. Number 6. Blaize Pascal. A 17th-century French polymath, born from 1623 to 1662, widely recognized for his contributions in diverse fields such as mathematics, physics, invention, and philosophy. However, it is in the realm of philosophy and theology where Pascal leaves an indelible mark with his famous Pascal's Wager, articulated in his Pensées, a collection of posthumous fragments exploring the Christian faith and the human condition. Pascal's Wager is presented as a pragmatic argument for believing in God, not based on empirical evidence of divine existence, but rather as a wager on the infinitely beneficial outcome of believing in God if he turns out to be real. For Pascal, the cost of belief is insignificant compared to the eternal benefits of faith if God exists, as opposed to the eternal consequences of not believing if God does indeed exist. The relevance of Pascal's Wager transcends mere theological argumentation. It deeply impacts the heart of the human condition, decision-making under uncertainty, and the search for meaning and transcendence. Pascal, deeply influenced by his personal experience and spiritual transformation during a mystical event known as the Night of Fire, saw in the Christian faith not only an act of belief but also a deepening of human understanding, a source of comfort in the midst of affliction, and a guide for morality. His approach does not seek to eliminate doubt through logical argumentation, but rather to acknowledge human limitation and find in faith a path towards a deeper understanding of existence and eternity. The Wager, then, more than a simple calculation, is an invitation to consider faith as a reasonable and profoundly human choice in the pursuit of ultimate meaning. Number 5. Rene Descartes. Often considered the father of modern philosophy, born from 1596 to 1650, he introduced a radically new approach to the pursuit of knowledge, one that began with systematic doubt of everything, except for the existence of the thinking mind. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Although this method is widely known for its contribution to philosophy and mathematics, a less discussed but equally important aspect of his work is his argumentation on the existence of God. In his Meditations on First Philosophy, Descartes presents several proofs of the existence of God, including the idea that the existence of a perfect being, God, is innate in us, and as imperfect beings, we could not have conceived this idea on our own. This line of reasoning underscores the deep interconnection that Descartes saw between philosophy, science, and theology. Descartes' importance in religious and philosophical thought extends beyond his proofs of the existence of God. By placing doubt and reason at the center of the pursuit of knowledge, he paved the way for a new understanding of faith and reason as complementary, rather than opposed. This approach not only profoundly influenced the later development of philosophy and science, but also offered a new framework for considering the nature of religious faith in an increasingly rationalistic world. Descartes argued that the existence of God was as fundamental a truth as the existence of the thinking self, proposing that true knowledge, both scientific and theological, is based on the certainty of divine existence. His work reminds us of the richness of exploring the intersection of faith and reason, a legacy that continues to challenge and enrich our understanding of the world and ourselves. Number 4. Thomas Aquinas. One of the most influential philosophers and theologians of the Middle Ages, he is revered for his attempt to reconcile Christian faith with natural reason, bridging the gap between Aristotelian philosophy and Christian theology. Born in 1225 into the Italian nobility, Aquinas became a pillar of teaching in the Catholic Church, dedicating his life to crafting one of the greatest syntheses of Christian philosophy. His most significant work, the Summa Theologica, is a comprehensive treatise that encompasses all major aspects of theology and is considered one of the cornerstones of Western thought. Aquinas argued that faith and reason are two paths to truth that do not contradict but complement each other. This perspective was revolutionary in his time and laid the groundwork for dialogue between science and religion, a legacy that endures to this day. The importance of Thomas Aquinas lies not only in his ability to engage with classical Greek philosophy and adapt it to Christianity, but also in his methodology and approach to knowledge and truth. Aquinas maintained that all knowledge begins with sensory experience, a stance that anticipates aspects of modern empiricism. His 5 ways to demonstrate the existence of God are classic examples of his rational approach to theology, where he employs logic to reach theological conclusions. Aquinas' influence extended beyond theology. His work in metaphysics, ethics, and natural philosophy significantly contributed to the evolution of these disciplines. His balanced approach and firm belief in the harmony between faith and reason continue to inspire philosophers, theologians, and scientists in the pursuit of a deeper understanding of the world and the place of human beings in it. Number 3. Saint Augustine. Also known as Augustine of Hippo, he is a towering figure in the history of Christian and Western philosophy. Born on November 13, 354, in Tagaste, modern-day Souk Aras, Algeria, his life and work represent an intellectual and spiritual journey that has left an indelible mark on Christian thought. Before his conversion to Christianity at the age of 31, Augustine explored various philosophies and religious movements, including Manichaeism, a religious dualism that viewed the world as a battle between good and evil, and skepticism. His quest for truth ultimately led him back to Christianity, greatly influenced by the preaching of St. Ambrose in Milan. Augustine's Confessions not only narrate his conversion but also explore the nature of time, memory, and human experience with unprecedented psychological depth, making it one of the earliest and most influential autobiographical works in Western literature. St. Augustine's contribution to Christian philosophy and theology is vast, but one of his most enduring legacies is his conception of original sin and divine grace. Through his work, The City of God, among others, Augustine articulated the view that humanity is inherently marked by sin due to the fall of Adam and Eve, and that salvation can only be attained through the grace of God, not by human merits. This idea would have a profound influence on the development of Christian doctrine, especially in the Protestant Reformation. Additionally, Augustine is recognized for his work in epistemology, particularly in relation to faith and reason, establishing a framework in which Christian faith and rational philosophy could not only coexist but also enrich each other. His focus on interiority and the personal quest for God anticipated and shaped the development of existential and phenomenological thought in modern philosophy. Number 2. Aristotle. The Stagirite, who lived from 384 to 322 BC, is an emblematic figure whose philosophical legacy transcends the mere academic sphere, influencing theology and religious thought throughout the centuries. Unlike the anthropomorphic conception of deities in traditional Greek religion, Aristotle introduced the concept of the unmoved mover, a perfect, eternal, and immutable being that sustains the cosmos through its mere existence. This concept, rooted in natural observation and philosophical logic, provided a framework for understanding divinity that would be compatible, in certain ways, with monotheistic theistic notions. His idea that this unmoved mover is the final cause of everything, not acting through direct interaction, but as the ultimate object of desire or movement, offers a vision of a God who not only initiates but perpetuates order and purpose in the universe. Aristotle's influence extended beyond classical antiquity, reaching its peak in the Middle Ages when his work was rediscovered and harmonized with Christian theology by thinkers like St. Thomas Aquinas. This encounter of thoughts was not trivial. It represented a bridge between ancient philosophy and Christianity, allowing for a synthesis that would enrich both theology and Western philosophy. Aristotle provided intellectual tools to rationally argue for the existence of a supreme being, thus offering common ground where faith and reason could meet. This harmonization of the Aristotelian view with Christian theology proved to be fundamental for the development of medieval philosophy and scholasticism, profoundly influencing the way the relationship between God and the cosmos is understood in Western thought. Therefore, the relevance of Aristotle lies not only in his philosophical system but also in how it intertwined with the human quest to understand divinity, offering a perspective that has fueled the dialogue between science, philosophy, and religion throughout the centuries. Number 1. Plato. The celebrated Greek philosopher who lived from 427 to 347 BC is often associated with the conception of a reality divided into two: the sensible world, accessible to us through our senses, and the world of forms or ideas, which is eternal and immutable. This dualistic view may seem, at first glance, distant from any traditional monotheistic theology. However, it is precisely his theory of forms that allows an interesting connection with theistic concepts. The form of the good, in Platonic philosophy, sits at the pinnacle of his ontological hierarchy, acting as the ultimate principle of all reality and knowledge. This idea of a supreme, perfect, and absolute principle resonates with conceptions of God in various religious traditions, where God is seen as the first and final cause of all that exists. Plato's influence on religious and theological thought spans centuries, profoundly impacting Christian, Jewish, and Muslim philosophers and theologians. For example, the Platonic notion of the demiurge, the divine craftsman who orders the cosmos, is reflected in the view of a creating and ordering God in monotheism. Additionally, Plato's idea that the human soul is immortal and aspires to return to the world of forms, where true justice and goodness reign, resonated with teachings about the afterlife and the aspiration for supreme good in various religions. Thus, Although Plato did not refer to a god in the personal sense that many religious traditions uphold, his thought offers fertile ground for dialogue between philosophy and theology, proposing an ultimate reality and absolute good that resemble the conception of God.